Hi, this is Jeff Schneider. I'm the founder and CEO at Imprompt. There's a lot of material on the web about RAG and how do you look at it from a developer's perspective, but there's kind of less information on it from a product manager's perspective or even an architecture viewpoint. And I wanted to give a little bit of how we went through the process and what we thought about and the decisions we made. So I'm going to jump into it. Okay. Let's see. So here we go. So everyone pretty much knows that there's this new stack that's emerging, right? In the early days, everyone was extremely excited about large language models, and then quickly kind of moved to how do we contextualize the data, specifically unstructured data, with the language models, and RAGs were born. But more recently, we've seen much more emphasis kind of above this layer in the stack, thinking about things like plugins and workflows and agents and assistants. And with that, the software ecosystem is kind of divided into two different delivery or consumption models. One is I'm going to take something that's GPT based and I'm going to embed it inside of my current app. And the other one is kind of the inverse of it. I'm taking my current app and I'm exposing it out to chat interfaces. So we focus more on the second one here, this chat to everything model. What we noticed was that there was kind of a, Google and Microsoft and OpenAI put out variations of their chat model for the enterprise, but they kind of looked a little bit like walled gardens to us, scared us a little bit. So we came and decided that we wanted to do the exact opposite of that. And out of that notion, ChatStack was born. Was really this chat to everything kind of viewpoint, where what we say is, you can have chat in your own cloud. You can pick your own RAG. You can pick your own vector database. You can pick your own agents and assistance platform and so forth. It's a mix and match, plug and play model to basically bring all of your IT systems into, into this new GPT generative AI world. And to do that, as you can imagine, you have to figure out how to get all of your legacy systems in, so workers and agents and all the actions that they need to work on. We've doubled down on a project we call Open Plugin that facilitates the language enablement of APIs. We'll get into that more some other day. But from our perspective, what we've been working on is taking an enterprise-style chat app, making it available in a SaaS model, but also making it available in this single tenant model. So this is ChatStack for AWS. This is tailored for enterprises and ISVs who basically want to kind of push a button and get their own complete chat stack available for the internal workforce. And similar chat stack for Google Cloud. Again, just being able to have this private single tenant edition. Okay, so moving forward, when we were tackling this problem of enterprise chat, we first bumped into the need to do unstructured data. There's a couple of early players in the space, and we did what everyone does. You go and look out on social and see what's hot in GitHub, and you try a bunch of different things out. We ultimately landed on a couple different vendors. One was DataStax, and the other was LlamaIndex. So I'm going to say nice things about both of these vendors because we had a good journey with them. LlamaIndex likes to say that your LLM RAG is only as good as your data. I think that's absolutely true. They say data is the hardest part of building an enterprise-grade LLM app. I don't know, man. There's a lot of really, really hard aspects of building these applications out, but dealing with the RAG infrastructure currently there's a lot of moving parts, right? And we're hoping that over time it becomes simplified, easier to consume, but now it is a pretty big piece. So now I'm putting my product manager's hat on, right? And I'm thinking about all the different things that are happening inside of an enterprise-grade chat application. So we start off with, can we help people to think through the prompting side of this, with one shots and multi shots and chains of thoughts and trees of thoughts and prompt libraries and all the usual kind of stuff. But at the same time, we quickly hit multimodal with image and voice. And voice starts off with like fixed length, and then it becomes continuous streamed. I already mentioned plugins and APIs, and videos is right here. One of the items that we have to deal with is this notion of document understanding. So people have files, or they have knowledge bases, large unstructured data, and they need a way to bring this into their GPT world. Going beyond that, it's not just the human who's talking to a language model. It's a human who might be talking to an assistant or to an artificial agent who's using a flow, right? So kind of this logic of who the human is talking to is changing over time, and that's kind of part of our roadmap. And ultimately, we've talked about the input and the processing. We have to get this back out. In the current generation of most chat apps, they give you markdown on the way back, and that's quickly kind of getting thrown away by anyone who's kind of real in the space. So, we're looking at full-blown HTML apps on the way back out in SVG and, videos and you name it. So the chat output for us is a complex element as well. So just stepping back a little bit, we started this whole kind of RAG thing with a simple problem. You've got a file, and you tried to put your file into the chat prompt, but it was too big. And right, so they have these context windows which define the total length of what you can put inside of your chat prompt. And if your document's too big, then it doesn't work. So, the big idea was, let's just snip out the most contextually relevant pieces of that file and put that inside of the context window and send that with your prompt, right? And that's what everyone does, and it's RAG, and that's what everyone calls it. So it's a pattern for how we solve the problem. Okay, the next conversation is always, well, maybe we don't need to do this because the context windows keep getting larger and larger. They do. But the downside of it is, although it's easier for developers, it is slower inferencing, it's more expensive, and we found that it's harder to actually debug because it's like a black box. You just don't have kind of the visibility of what's going on. So we don't think it's going to be one way or the other. Ultimately, it'll be both for a very long time. Yeah. So inside of our enterprise chat stack, we have to assume that multimodal input is here, and that some of the context is going to be huge in size. And when that's the case, we're going to use a RAG pipeline. And if the user gave us a file, we're going to use the RAG pipeline. If the user used a plugin that returned files, it's the RAG pipeline. If they used assistants or agents who used a file or used a plugin, then we're going to use the RAG pipeline, and so on, right? So I'm just trying to say, it's not just humans talking to a file. It's this kind of tiering of all of the different entities that we talk with and the tools that they use that determine what's going to get sent to the RAG pipeline. So on our end, we use the core stuff from LlamaIndex. More recently, we added Llama Parsin. This is great for document understanding specific to PDFs with an emphasis on tables. We've had good conversations with the team at LlamaIndex around their Llama Cloud offering. What I can say is we love it. It's easy. It works. They're still building out the offering though, right? It's still early on their end. We want SLAs, and we want to be able to boot up the Llama Cloud and all kinds of virtual private clouds, AWS and Azure and GCP and so on. So, the stuff we don't want to worry about, the stuff we want DataStax, and the stuff that we want LlamaIndex to worry about is all of this kind of gook around document understanding. So when you build one of these, there's a bunch of interesting questions that you have to answer, right? How am I going to connect to some remote app? How am I going to parse it up? How am I going to chunk it into little sections? There's all kinds of best practices for that. You have to switch it into this embeddings model, and there's lots of different providers and lots of options. And then there's great tools for doing these smart queries to make sure that you're bringing back the right answer. When you look at this, it's a permutation problem. And ultimately, I don't want it to be my problem. I don't want it to be my engineer's problem. I don't want it to show up on my Gantt chart. This problem should belong to my vendors, and I'm more than happy to pay them to go solve this problem, right? So that's where we were, but here's kind of where we're going. So now that we got document structure done and table understanding done, I want figure understanding, these long references, anaphoric and cataphoric, named entities that are outside of the chunked window, and two documents reference each other. I want cross-document reference. Again, I've looked at all these problems, in my computational linguistics days. These are hard problems. I don't want to worry about them. I'm so happy that LlamaIndex and DataStax are doubling down on it. All right, on the vector database side of it, the requirements that we have are pretty straightforward, although not simple, right? So we want it available in multiple clouds. We want low latency, obviously high availability, great resilience with whatever it is. White glove onboarding. We're in a hurry, and we want our vendor to help us get started. I emphasize this point of working with ecosystem providers because all of the stuff in this GPT space is moving so fast. I need a vendor who understands what's working and what's not, the state of the art. So really being embedded with these ecosystem providers was key to me. I'm always worried about the costs, so I want it to be affordable, pay as you go. And architecturally speaking, we're huge fans of serverless, so I'd love to see serverless. In the very early days of our journey, we tried one of the startups in the vector database side of the house, and they accidentally dropped all of our databases. And like I said, all these guys they're early in their journey, and it's okay, right? But they sent us an email saying we're not sure if we can retrieve your data at all. Now it was on the free tier, and I'll give them a pass, but it freaked us out. And so we basically came back and we came up with this new mantra. The mantra was this: let's go fast, let's stay safe. And by that I mean go fast and working with vendors who have leading edge technology, but let's prove that they know how to run a stable, secure, a reliable service. We want people who have mature processes and innovative engineering. So we double down and looking at everyone's SOC and PCI and ISO and all that. So, okay, again, I don't have anything bad I can say. The LlamaIndex guys, the DataStax guys have been great people, great products, painless, inexpensive, and ultimately, we delivered the stack that we wanted to deliver. If you want, reach out to me. You can just send me an email. We're sending out discount codes on some of this stuff. And we're also going to put out a RAG regression test harness. So follow us on Twitter. We're at Imprompters, be an Imprompter. And we'll let you know when the RAG regression test harness is available. And that's all we got today. Thank you so much.